my debut 1990 September, Bristol City away, to get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Lee Clark 1-0.
Williams.
My first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with it as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Williams for Sunderland. Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Picked up the ball. Clarky Higgy. You beauty. You Scouser Teesside beauty.
Worshipped every weekend. It's the three legends, banter and rivalry across the northeast. On the Toon, the Cat, the Red.
Got half a feeling that Lee Clark might want to talk football. Craig Hignett might want to talk football. Don't know about Daz Williams though. Fellas, how are you? Another interesting weekend has gone.
Oh. Can I talk about the weather, Dave?
Yeah, gardening, mate. I don't know what you're putting in
Daz, I'll tell you what
it's been brighter.
Daz, I'll tell you what you can talk about. You can talk about this XG stuff.
Oh,
I mean, I put a bit of timber. I put a bit of timber on. I'm an XL now, but I don't know. I kind of find an XG.
XL's being generous.
You must have seen a picture of us lately, Higgy.
I hope Bobby hasn't got your jeans.
No, definitely not.
Get in him. He'd fit them all right.
Him, his other brother and sister had fitted them now together.
Comes to us all, mate.
We're going to talk about Sunderland. Is that where we're going to start then?
Oh, Iggy, mate.
What's going on, Daz? 5 games without a win, 2 goals scored in 5 games, albeit you're only losing by the odd goal. But I mean, I heard the interview the other night saying the second half against Leicester was somewhere where he wants his team to be and to play like.
Mate,
I mean, is that papering over the cracks?
I think so, mate. Yeah, I mean, obviously the second half was an improvement. I mean, let's be honest, you got to improve from the freaking first half, haven't you? Let's be honest, Jesus. You know, it was an absolute shambles the first half. It was men against boys, in all honesty. You know, let's be honest. Didn't really create much. I mean, Humes had a couple of strikes throughout the game from distance. Obviously, he's caught the keeper on one and hit the crossbar. Obviously, we can talk all day about the penalty towards the end. Whether he's made a meal of it. He has been clipped, but whether he's made a meal of it, which has changed the referee's decision, I don't know. But you look at it in the first half, mate. We're just nowhere near in the game. It was even for the goal. I mean, it's a great save from Patterson, but the reaction from the rest of the team, everyone's just static and stood still. Nobody's anticipating the ball coming back out. Nobody's on the front foot. And there's no desire, not to concede it in those areas. And as we all know, you always say following both ends. Obviously, Vardy's done that and obviously got his goal. But for me, it was a lacklustre game. Very disappointing. I think the only shiner light coming out of it was Riggy. 16-year-old, kid in there really, who, like I said before, probably needs a little bit of a run in the team now, to be quite honest, and give him some games, because in all honesty, I can't see it getting any worse than what it is at this moment in time.
And the thing was,
we just looked a million miles away.
I watched the game, and Leicester weren't at their very best either, were they? I've seen them many times over the course of the season, and I thought they looked miles off where they'd been earlier in the season. They looked like a team who would come off the back of a couple of indifferent results and might have been feeling a little bit of pressure, but Sunderland just didn't have the, like you say, they just didn't put the foot down on the gas to try and have a go. And yeah, I know Doddsy said, I mean, you think even we used the word sensational about the second half performance. I mean, like you said, it was improvement, but I wouldn't put it in that sort of bracket. And I think what you've got to start realising now, mate, with the run that is on 5 straight losses, is it?
Yeah.
With that type of run, you've got to be careful what you come out and say after games. Got to be careful, because the public won't allow you to just, try and mesmerise them with all this. Higgy mentioned it in the group WhatsApp fluff, and that's what it is, isn't it?
It's saying stuff without saying stuff, isn't it?
You've got to come out with the real stuff. What the fans want to hear. We kept Leicester's XG down to 0.01 in the second half, and that's the team at the top. That's all right. Well, just say you were better defensively. You've done well, but when you're losing games like they are, and the way things have gone, because I think what's starting to happen now, Daz, you'll be able to tell us more, but the fans are starting to ask questions above the dugout now. They're starting to say, how many times they're going to make the wrong decision. Are we using the right model for this football club? We have to change the model a little bit or tweak it, and they've got to get the next appointment right, because the last two decisions in regarding managers have been ridiculous. Sacking of Tony, and then the appointment of Michael Beale. So it's
totally, mate.
I think I'm starting to sense a little bit of a turn now with the supporters to say you've got to get your fingers out and do something now.
Definitely, mate. I mean, the supporters are turning, and that's evident to see. With the stuff he's coming out with, about we've all looked at percentages of the game. We've all looked at who's dominated a game. That's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because how many games have we seen teams dominate, they concede a goal, or get beat? Do you know what I mean? So for me, he's just papering over the cracks, and he's come out with we're one win away from flipping the results. Well, of course, we're one game away from flipping the results. One win, that will flip the results. But when's that one win coming? We've got Southampton away at the weekend. And in all honesty, you touched on it there, Clark. Leicester weren't at the best when we played them down at Leicester. They were flying. We were doing extremely well, and we were probably unlucky not to come away with something. It's a good job they weren't flying the other night. It really is, because it was evident to see that we could have conceded a lot more, in that game without a shadow of a doubt. Patterson's pulled off some fantastic saves, and if that's Leicester under par, can you imagine what they'd been like a full tilt the other night? We'd have been struggling massively.
But you have to be careful, don't you, when you start to quote all these data bits, because all right, you've picked one out that's in your favour there, but how many aren't in your favour? If you start listing, XG goals per games over a period, you could start to think, well, hang on a minute, they've only scored 2 in the last 5. How many shots have they had? How many on target? What's their expected goal? What's their expected goals? Because you can flip them any way you want, and you can make any 100%. Point you want with data. I don't think it tells the full story, data. Listen, you could have the ball, like you've just said, Daz, for 80% of the time and still get beat.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. What matters at the end of the day is the scoreline. And you can use data to improve and to try and measure your improvements, if you like, but you can't use it to tell the tale of a game. Not in my opinion, anyway. No. That's just my opinion. No. I think, the game, you'll see a game with your own eyes, you'll know what you've seen, and then over time you can analyse, how many shots did we get, or how many crosses did we put in, and you can analyse the data. Are we getting more crosses? Are we having more shots? And that's the way you'll judge it. But you can't describe a game on stats. Not for me. Data's really important, but
I'd get that, Higgy. I'm 100% with you. I get it. I think that should be used for the players in your meetings to say, look, we are creating chances, we are doing better, look at this, look at that, or we've kept possession of the ball better in certain areas. You want all the data, don't get us wrong, I'm not saying, I don't think anyone are saying that, but what we're saying is, don't come out in your after-match analysis of the match and start throwing all these stats around, because the loyal fans that you have in those, in great numbers are still turning out of Sunderland. They're seeing with their eyes. They're seeing with still the most important thing in football. But far better than all the data. The data's great, but your eyes don't tell you lies either, by the way.
Totally.
And so you've got to be using that in the right way. And because what I'm thinking, when I'm starting to talk about that, I'm starting to think like, so the Champions League's back. I've been watching a lot of interviews before and after games. And these top coaches and top managers who are competing in the Champions League, whether they're the English clubs or whether they're foreign clubs, I never hear them go on about data and stats. No. They just go on about what they're seeing with their eyes. and they just tell the truth. They say it how it is. We try to, sometimes, we've had a go today, it just wasn't right. They don't start rattling off all these stats and whatever. And
they'll all have it, Clarky, won't they? They'll all have the data there in front of them. Straight away, half-time, full-time.
These big clubs, I tell you, honestly, these big clubs will have analysts for every little thing. They'll have analysts for out of possession, in possession, final third. They'll have these analysts will have the separate areas, so that the amount of detail you'll be getting as a coaching staff and as a group of players, depending on how much you want to use it as a manager and a coaching staff, it'll be unbelievable. I mean, I had a little insight into it when I worked with Sam Allardyce when I was reserve team manager at Newcastle, and Sam was massive into his data. But Sam would be taking live pictures, so he'd have analysts working underneath in the stand, not even watching the game live, just watching on a computer with the coaching staff, myself included, and saying there's an incident there, and can you clip that? Can you clip that? Sam would come in at half time and actually use the clips from the first half. So that's how you can do it. But then you kind of come out and say, I used that clip at half time and I used that, because you've got to tell the fans in layman's terms what's gone on, what's went right, what's went wrong. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the worrying thing when we're looking at the fixtures, you're looking at the fixtures now, the worrying thing is, you've got Southampton away, we've got QPR who are picking up, Cardiff's always a difficult place to go to. We've got Blackburn, we've still Watford, we've still got teams below us who potentially could catch us, and that's a worrying concern. Because
the problem you've got, Daz, is when you continue to lose, it doesn't matter who you come up against, your confidence is eroded. Exactly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you keep losing, if you go 6 on the bounce 7.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say, mate, because the team that were out in the first half looked very, very down. And very, very disillusioned. There was no fight, there was no effort, there was no urgency. For me, it looked like a team that was beaten before we even got on the pitch, in all honesty.
See, that for me, that's worrying, Daz. If you can play and lose, but if the body language is saying something as well, and you can see it, then that's worrying for me. That's a team who don't want to be there and don't want to fight and don't want to do. And I'm sure they do. But you know what it's like when things aren't going well at your club. Decisions have been made. You might not agree with them. You're in a bad run of form. Yeah. You might be not happy with what's going on. And before you know it, if there's 7 or 8 years and you're in the starting 11, you get performances like that.
Of course,
and you don't mean to.
We've spoke about this before, Higgy, when we talked about how young the squad is. Them young lads will be looking round for a senior head now and going, what do I do? What happens now? But they're not. They're looking at a kid who's the kid sitting next to them is probably younger than them, less experienced.
And it goes the other way as well, Clarky, doesn't it? So the older lads will be seeing it and recognising it and going, "Hey, today you're on it," and getting them going as well without them asking the questions. An older head might see what's going on and think, "I'm not being part of this." So this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
you need leaders. And you need older players who are leaders. Daz, do you ever see them tweaking this? And it's not admitting you failed in your pathway or whatever decision you make in getting young players and trying to develop them. But do you see them tweaking it to maybe having 1 or 2? Listen, I'm not even saying older players. I'm just saying like mid-20s, 27s, 28s, bringing them to the club just to help everyone.
I personally think, mate, in the summer, I think we will see some difference. I think, things will have to change. I think, I'm hoping, obviously, I'm hoping they recognise the fact that we do need this, the slightly senior players when you're in positions like this. Because let's be honest, I mean, there's been obviously a lot of really bad decisions made throughout the season. We spoke about managers, etc. Different things on and off the field. Now, surely this year's got to be a learning curve. We were there or thereabouts, obviously, with previous managers, Mogger, touching the playoffs, inside the playoffs. Now, for me, a few more experienced heads in there when the situation gets like this, just to calm the lads down, just to bring them through with their experience would have made a massive difference. And we've all said it. Mogger's was probably the right man for the job. However, if we'd have had experienced players in there, it may not have got to this. But I think they've got to look at it in the summer, 100%. And I think, like you say, it doesn't have to be, your mid-30s, etc. Your mid-20s and above, would be a good thing to bring in. Obviously, when you've got young players coming through, the likes of Riggy, like I said to Riggy plays with no fear, but also he's still a young lad, so he needs to be brought through the game properly. And when you haven't got those senior heads around him, to do that, it's concerning, because he then may look elsewhere.
I know we talk about Liverpool quite a bit on here, but those young lads who are playing now for Liverpool, they're doing what they're doing because they've looked up to some older players, some players who do things right, 100%. And they see their attitude and they see what it takes to do what they're doing, and they've just come in and done it. I think that the young lads at Sunderland, and listen, I don't want to generalise over everyone because I'm sure some of them do, but who've they got to look up to and see the right way to do things, or how they act, or do you know what I mean? Some role models who've been there and done it. How many players like that are in the squad? Daz, who've done anything in the game?
I've been part of a process like this, guys. When Ozzy Ardiles was manager at Newcastle, he gave about 7 or 8 or 9 of us together. He threw us all in the team. Now, we used to be great for like a half or an hour of the game, and there was some perfect examples. 3-0 up at home to Charlton. Last 30 minutes, they just batter when we lose 4-3. Because we're all kids and we're looking at each other and saying what we've got to do, what we're meant to do here. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So when Kevin Keegan took over from Ozzy, first thing he'd done, experience. Yes, I've got some exciting young kids, who can come on the journey with us. But first of all, Brian Kilkane came through the door. Big centre-half, experienced, FA Cup winning captain, could put his arm round you, could give you a kick up the backside. We had the likes of David Kelly get brought in, Kevin Sheedy got brought in, you've got likes of Bez, and them all came then. Because he already had the young players, so he just thought, these are good players, but they need a bit of help. Yeah. And there was so many examples of us together as kids. It was about 4 or 5 games that season, or during Ozzy's reign before he got fired, that we're doing great, but we end up being naive and would lose the game or lose our way. And then you're looking, I remember you're thinking, well, I cannot ask him. We were playing in the youth team together 2 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean? It was like... yeah. And it was like that,
Yeah, I think there's a bit of that going on. I mean, look at Pritchard. He was probably arguably your best player, apart from Jack Clark, maybe.
Yeah.
Who would probably... Now, listen, I don't know what he's like around the place, because there may be issues there. I don't know. But to get rid of him, you've just took away someone who's got some experience and who was doing really well in the team. And every time I seen them play, Daz, he was probably the best player. So...
Totally, mate.
I couldn't get why they would let him go.
No, that was a big one for me as well.
It was massive, mate. It was massive. I mean, obviously, Tony snapped him up straight away, didn't he? Obviously, he went after Birmingham. Yeah. But for me, I've always said it. He's always been a lad that influences, on and off the pitch, around the club. Coming out of the club, obviously, from the younger lads, he was always there, for advice and this, that and the other, chatting with the young players, obviously, getting amongst the young players, even if they were coming off from having a game on the training pitch, this, that and the other, he's always in and around them. So for me, he was a good egg, he wasn't a bad egg in the club, there was no reason to get rid of him. And like you say, you can go through the squad and it's just young player after young player. You've got Bradley Dack, who apparently will never play again for the club. On what reason, I don't know. You've got Patrick Robertson there.
Is that in the public domain, Daz, is it?
By all accounts, mate, yeah. Apparently, he's not going to be playing another game. And, whether this is down to injury or whether it's down to something else, mate, I'm not 100% sure. But that's the word coming out that, he probably won't feature again. Which is surprising because, he's an older head. I get it. Obviously, he's had his things with injuries, etc. But... to be in and around the young lads at this time, especially when it's we're in a situation like we're in, it's a strange one.
But he's sort of the only one with any history of scoring goals as well, Daz, isn't it? And at a time when you're struggling for goals, you would think you'd need everyone you've got.
course you would, mate. 100%. 100%. And it's just, some very strange decisions. And like I say, I'm hoping they learn, from this season massively, because, there's been a lot of points where we can learn and we can improve and we can move forward. But it's whether, the guys take it on board upstairs.
Yeah, it's just a weird one with Sunderland at the minute. I don't get... The season's just petering out, isn't it?
It is, and it's leaving.
And on the other hand, there's not a lot of information coming back from the upstairs neither. Do you know what I mean? Everything seems to be and taken away from Doddsy. He's trying to do what he's doing, type of thing. But there's not a lot of information coming from the top of the club. Surely fans want to know what where we're going, what position, where we're driving to. What's our thoughts. I get the saying about obviously they've got how they're going to be and how they're going to structure the club, etc. But in situations like this, where we're 5 without a win, somebody needs to pipe up a little bit more than just sending Doddsy out there week in, week out.
I've got to be honest, I was there on Tuesday night, Daz, and it was first 45 minutes. It was men against boys. It really was. 100%, Dave. It's just it was scary, mate. Because I watched the first game. I was away in America, but I watched the first game at Leicester, and I thought Sunderland done extremely well. I thought they were unlucky. Even coming from some of the Leicester fans on social medias afterwards saying they were one of the best sides that played in the league. That looked a million miles away from the side that played in the first game to the second game. A million miles away. Yeah. And sure, there's not that many changes, barring obviously the mistakes that we've made over the season with managers, etc. And obviously we've got a couple of injuries, but that shouldn't really affect the performance and the standards really that much. Yeah. It is the three legends, Craig Higgy, Darren Williams, Lee Clark across the North East on the Red, the Cat and the Toon. You can get your comments through. You can WhatsApp the studio 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. And if you really behave yourself, the lads might even take your phone call. Same number. You can dial with the WhatsApp. You can dial with the normal phone into the same number 0330 043 2002. And the boys will continue their chat of North East football next.
It's the three legends. Across the Northeast, Clark, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. Banter at its best. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the Northeast, the Toon, the Cat and the Red.
Oh yes, it is the three legends across the North East on the Cat, the Red and the Toon, chewing the fat over Sunderland. I think it's Boro's turn, is it, Higgy?
Well,
because Clarky can lay back and smoke a big fat
Clarky
cigar because they play Monday.
Yeah, last Saturday was a really poor day, wasn't it? Away at Stoke. We thought after the win at Leicester, we thought things had turned round. Then he went and lost at Plymouth. Didn't score, got beat 2. And then you're looking at the Stoke game away. Same scoreline, Stoke 2, Boro 0. And you just think, where's that form gone that they showed at Leicester? Because they showed some good stuff at Leicester. Played really well on the counter. Carved Leicester open. And I just thought they'd turned the corner. But then they had 2 really poor ones. And then you're thinking, well, Norwich have come in the week. And you don't know what you're going to get. I suppose it's been like that most seasons. Most of the season, we're talking about being consistent in the Championship to do anything. And Sunderland and Middlesbrough, they just haven't been consistent enough. So then when Norwich come, obviously Norwich score a goal, and you think, oh, here we go again. Boro weren't playing particularly well at the time, but they got I thought it was a really soft sending off, if I'm honest. And it's since been rescinded. So it's been rescinded today. I think it was signed son Johnny Howson. Howson with a great tackle. He sort of spun on his back. He grazed Howson's thigh. Howson may have played on it a bit. But the referee sent him off and it changed the game. But listen, you'll take that look. When you're struggling for wins and struggling for goals, you'll take anything you can get. So, I have to give Boro credit because when they went to 10 men, they changed. Second half, they were good. Well worth the win. But then you're thinking, well, QPR, Saturday, it's a game off the back of that. You think they'll go and do well because they've got a bit of confidence off that one. But listen, it could have been different. It could have been different because I thought Norwich were a better team with 11 on the pitch. But like I say, sometimes you need a little bit of lady luck, and I'll take that all day long. And it gives us 3 points. It stops. I've heard so many people today or last week after the results talking about, we want to start looking over our shoulders because we're nearer the relegation spots than we are the playoffs. So that win will just settle everyone down. There's no way Boro are going to get dragged into that. I just want them to start looking up and have a good end to the season because it's important, for what you want to do in the summer. Listen, the 10 points off a playoff spot, they're not going to get anywhere near the playoffs, in my opinion, between now and the end of the season. To make 10 points up the way they're playing, I think is nigh on impossible. I just want them to have a decent end to the season because then they'll attract better players in the summer, and that really is all I can hope for. But listen, Saturday's not going to be any pushover. QPR have pushed on. They've won, I think they'd won 3 on the bounce before drawing with West Brom. And Boro aren't brilliant against QPR. It's one of them teams. I think they've only won 1 of the last 5 times they've played them. QPR have won 3. They've drew 1, and then away, Boro haven't won in 5, drawn 3 and lost 2. So it's one of them places, QPR, and they do seem like they've found a bit of form, got themselves out of the relegation trouble they were in, sitting 19th in the table, but they're on a good run. So it's not going to be an easy game. But I just want a little bit of consistency, Daz. I just want them to win 3-4 games on the bounce and say, right, there you go. But they don't look like they're doing it, or they can do it.
How did you see it going before the sending off?
I thought Norwich would win. I thought Norwich were the better side. They were in front. What I have to say about Norwich, when they went to 10 men, they almost give up. It was like it was like they thought it was such an injustice. And listen, some people have argued. I've had a look on social media. Some people have said it was a sending off. I think Jeff Winter was one who said you can't kick out at people. I didn't think it was a kick out. I just thought the way the lad fell on his back and spun round, he hasn't kicked his feet out. He's just spun round and grazed Johnny Howson. But it definitely changed the game. It was a little bit like the Sunderland one, Daz. When Sunderland had a man sent off against them. And I thought it changed the game. It did change the dynamic of the game. But like I say, Boro still had to go and win it. And they did. And the good thing was Isaiah Jones was back on the bench as well.
Yeah, we can't listen to Jeff Winter because he used to yellow card me both weeks, mate. So
told me he already had the name written in his book, mate, before he went out.
I never got a Christmas card though, mate.
Well, Jeff said it was a sending off, and today it's been rescinded, so it just shows you what he knows, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I was going to touch on, mate. QPR, they're on a decent run, mate. A really decent run, and this is what concerns me because obviously Sunderland have got them as well. And it's they've obviously drew with West Brom. They beat Leicester. They beat Rotherham. I know obviously Rotherham struggled most of the season, but and then beat Bristol City at Bristol City as well. So that they have picked up massively, and this is what I'm concerned about, mate. Being in the position we're in at the moment, it's you could get dragged down there. I'm not saying obviously going to get relegated, but we could. Obviously, from both sides, we could end up with a dire end to the season if we don't obviously turn things around.
Yeah, I mean they're 9 points away from the bottom 3, aren't they? Like both sides, and you would think for that the bottom teams to make. I mean, listen, Rotherham are gone, aren't they? Rotherham are gone, but you've got Sheffield down there, Stoke are there, Huddersfield, Birmingham are down there, and then QPR have just pulled themselves up a little bit. It's really tight down there. From second bottom to 16th, there's only 2 points in it.
Yeah. Right
the way up to 16th and Plymouth in 16th place. So, I mean, to get dragged into that, you're going to have to go on like a proper bad run. I think Boro and Sunderland are safe from all that. I think they're just going to sit in mid-table, and that's just the way it's going to be. I think both of them, although for me, Sunderland are a little bit more worrying than Boro because Boro pick up results every now and again. So they've won 2 in the last 4, if you like, and Sunderland have gone on this horrendous run of losing the last 5 in the league. So
5, mate.
they're the runs
But
you don't want.
Do you know what though, Higgy? That like what I've like noticed between the two clubs is, you wouldn't be surprised if we were on here next Friday talking about Sunderland go to Southampton and get a win.
Yeah.
That's been,
Not wrong, mate.
That's what both the teams have been like. You touched on it. That neither of them have been consistent enough to sustain some results and cut the points tally to the playoffs, or even sneak in the back door of the playoffs.
No.
Like you said, Boro go and play brilliant or play really well at Leicester, get a great result, but then follow it up with terrible result. So that's why when we're sitting watching them results tomorrow, we wouldn't be surprised, I bet you, the three of us, if it was Sunderland winning at Southampton. Difficult to see, mate. Difficult to see on current form, of course.
Yeah.
But that's the way the seasons have been.
But let's be honest, we've been talking about it all season. None of them are going to do anything because they don't score enough goals, and that's the bottom line. They don't score enough goals. They haven't got a goal scorer or a goal scorer who gets enough, and they don't score enough goals. They just don't. Sunderland have only scored 2 in the last 5. Boro, apart from that 3, 2 games previous to that, hadn't scored a goal. So it's just until they rectify that, then they're going to be what they are, a team that'll drift up and down.
Yeah,
they need to do so. They've done really well. Listen, the team last year that Boro had would walk in the playoffs this season. They were so much better. They had so many more goals about them. They had Tuba for a start, but forgetting Ramsey and Archer and Giles supplying them, they were just such a different team to this one. And I think Michael's sort of struggling a little bit because he's caught halfway. He wants to play the way he was last year, but I don't think he's got the players to be able to do it. But he's persevered with it and he's stuck to his guns. Fair play to him for having belief in what he's doing. I think sometimes when you can see what's not happening, there's a time to change. And he did. He changed against Leicester, albeit I think he changed for a different reason. He changed to combat them. I just think that he struggled to find his best formation and his best team for a lot of the season, because the quality that he's got is nowhere near what he had last season. I think next season's the massive season for them, where they recruit in the summer.
Yeah.
He'll obviously have a say in who comes in. Kieran Scott will help him with that. And then they'll have to kick on next season. Regardless of where they finish this season, they'll have to kick on and get somewhere near the playoffs next season. Because that for me that'll be the measuring stick. It'll be his third season in charge, and then you'll be able to see the progress. There's reasons for this season. Losing all the players he did in the summer, that's a reason. He's had one season to rebuild this season, and then next season they've got to kick on and they've got to do something. And they've got to find a way of scoring more goals than what they have this season, because, like I say, that's the be-all and end-all is goals. And if you haven't got goals in your team, you're always going to struggle. You're going to be an up-and-down team. That and the fact that you've got to keep them out. And at the minute, neither team seems to keep them out either.
Well, I think that's a concern, isn't it? When if you're not scoring goals and you concede a goal, you think it's hard to get your head around the fact that you're going to get back in the game.
Mm. I mean, you know what it's like, Daz. If you're playing in a team that scores goals, Boro did it last season. They'd concede the first goal, but no one was bothered. Sometimes they'd go 2 behind, no one was bothered because they knew they had goals. And more often than not, they'd come back and get a result. So you're not bothered. But when you haven't got that, then suddenly you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, we've got to keep a clean sheet here to have half a chance of getting something out of the game.
Exactly.
And it's the same the other way.
Yeah,
if the strikers have scored a goal, they'll be thinking, hang on, we need another one here because we can't keep it out at the back.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because we're shipping more goals. So it works both ways, do you know what I mean? But when you've got them both, shipping goals 100%. And not scoring goals, it's a bad recipe.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think your dog likes you though, Craig.
That, believe it or not, that wasn't my dog.
Wasn't it? Oh, right, okay.
No, that was next door's.
Well, he doesn't like you, obviously.
No, he doesn't.
He's disagreeing.
Yeah.
No, he's getting cocky because I haven't let my dog out. If I let my dog out, he'll shut up and he'll walk in.
Yeah, all right.
He's only brave when my dog's not out, Dave.
Right, okay. Like to see it. Like to see it, mate. It is the three legends. Lee Clark, Newcastle, Darren Williams, Sunderland, Craig Hignett, Boro. You can get your comments through to the lads. You can WhatsApp the studio. You can put your calls through. Talk to them. 0330 043 2002. And the footy chat ahead of the weekend and looking forward to those games, all three of them, continues next.
Hi, it's Bernie Slavin. Looking forward to being on every Monday on the Red between 6 and 7. Opinions, views. I don't want any BS.
We need to get their lottery numbers for Wednesday night, I think, or Saturday, definitely.
If Boro's 1-0 up and you all do what you're going to do and we end up getting beat 2-1, are you going to take any responsibility for that?
Regardless of what happens in the game, it needs to be done just to make the point. That's the point of it. The protest is supposed to be disruptive. It's supposed to get our voice heard.
No messing about. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. This Monday, 6 o'clock to 7, please join us up the Boro.
Slaven Live with the Dovecart. Spend your evening in the best bar in Teesside. Clark, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. It's the three legends. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. We don't bite. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the northeast, by the fans, for the fans, the tune, the red and the cat.
That number once again, if you'd like to have a chat with the lads, 0330 043 2002, feel free to pick up the phone and have a gas. Where we're going now, looking ahead to the games across the weekend and Monday. Where are we starting, fellas?
Well, we start with Newcastle. We haven't spoke Newcastle, have we? I mean, we didn't even speak about their 3-0 win against Wolves, which I think I very nearly predicted, Clarky. I think
you did, mate.
I said 3-1, but it was 3-0.
Right, you did.
Yeah.
Great win. I'll tell you what was interesting, though. You know where we're talking about data? And when you look at it, Wolves had 56% possession.
Wolves played well, mate. Wolves just didn't have that end product, that striker. I think Gary O'Neill had been looking for one during the January window, and I could see why. Obviously, the FFP stuff's hit them hard as well, but they played excellent. They played some really good football. As you said, they had more possession than Newcastle. I do think Newcastle tweaked things a little bit, though. I think Eddie changed and just, let Wolves have a little bit more of the ball and didn't do the usual high press. They pressed the ball in certain areas of the pitch and used the speed that they've got at the top end of the field to break on them, So it was 3-0, but it wasn't what you call, a comfortable 3-0. Wolves were a decent side, played some really, really good football.
Clarky, where would you... Anthony Gordon, the season he's had a brilliant season. Is he close to being in the Euro squad?
I think he's got a chance, Higgy, because like you've just said there, it's been all season, he's been really consistent, and that's either from his usual wide position or when he's had to play as that striker when we've had both Wilson and Isaac injured. He's got a great work ethic. He uses his pace well because he's not frightened to run in behind without the ball for someone to pick him out. So that's a great asset. And obviously when he gets the ball one-on-one, he's got the ability to go inside or out, and he's adding goals and assists. So I definitely think he's got to be under consideration. I mean, the difficult thing he's got is we've got some fantastic players playing in those positions already for England and in the squad. But certainly,
but I'm thinking, if Gareth sticks with Rashford after some of the criticism that Rashford's come in for over the season, then surely there's a case for Anthony Gordon there, isn't there, to be picked over Rashford? I know Saka and Foden and people like that, it's going to be really difficult. But if you're looking at Rashford, then there's a case, isn't there?
Of course, if you're going, if you're a manager and you're saying, well, I want to be picking players on form, you definitely, he gets in ahead of Rashford. And this might be the time to have a look at him. I mean, he obviously knows and seeing how well he's done for the under-21s, but that step-up's a lot different. So he might go and say, right, let's have a look at what you can do, Anthony. Let's see what you can do. And if he does well, it gives him that food for thought going into the Euros and puts pressure on the likes of Rashford and that, because, as I said, he's had a more consistent season than Rashford in all aspects, you know, in goals and assists, in his work ethic. So definitely he's got I would say that he must be in the thoughts of Gareth. I mean, the thing I'd say about Gareth is he seems to be a very loyal manager, doesn't he? He doesn't really make a lot of changes to his squad. He doesn't make a lot of changes to the England squads. He sticks with the guys who he's worked with over many years and that. So that might be the only reason why he mightn't get the chance. But certainly on current form, it wouldn't be surprising to me if he got in. Definitely not.
It'd be very disappointing if he doesn't get an opportunity, though, Clarky, won't it? To be fair.
Yeah, I think he's just
because
he's got to be given a chance. But I like players with pace who want to use it in the right way, because we've probably played with them, lads. I've played with lads who've got the quickest speed ever, and they never want to use it. They never want to run in behind. They kept coming short for the ball and wanting to try and dribble, where their asset was their pace and getting in behind people. But he does that, you know, and he's done great as well as a striker. I mean, you wouldn't be saying we want to play him there 38 games of the Premier League season, but certainly for filling in for 4 or 5 games here and there over the season, he does great, because he's got good physical attributes as well. I mean, you forget he's still only 21. Still only 21, still a young lad. So, but he's.
So you've got Harry Kane who can play as a striker. I mean, it's a useful thing to have, isn't it? He can play wide, obviously. He can play as a central striker. Who else is a central striker would you be thinking of? You know,
I think Watkins has to. I think Watkins has to come under consideration, doesn't he? Ollie Watkins at Villa, he's had a terrific year. Yeah. I mean, the thing with Gareth and Callum, he's a big supporter of Callum Wilson, but you've always got this worry with Callum. Is he going to stay fit?
Yeah.
You know, and if England are going to be going to the latter stages, if not the final, it's over quite a long period, an intense period where you're probably playing every 4 or 5 days, and that'll be the thing worrying Gareth, I would have thought, not Callum's ability, because he's shown it already. It'll just be, is it too much of a risk to bring him into a tournament format where you're playing every 4 or 5 days, high level, high intensity, and he could easily break down, because obviously once you've named that squad, that's what you've got to go with. And like you said there, Higgy, people like Gordon who can play in more than one position can usually be good for a manager when he's naming 24 or whatever numbers he's allowed to make in his squad. He'll be looking at players who can play at different positions. Because I think Klopp mentioned about Joe Gomez, didn't he?
Yeah.
He mentioned about Joe Gomez getting an opportunity, because he's played this season. He's played right back, left back, centre half, holding midfield player, and done well in all those positions. So you'd think, you know, players who can play more than one role certainly could help the manager when he's trying to get a squad together, you know.
Well, like you say, he's just unlucky, isn't he, at the minute? Because you've got Saka, you've got Foden, you've got Grealish, you've got all these unbelievable wide players who are, they're not like wide players. Maybe Saka is. I'll add Rashford to that, because when he comes on, he plays there. But they're all lightning quick. But they all drift in, and they all get involved in the field. And they're just such good footballers. To break into that, you've got to be exceptional. But I think this season, he showed that he's got the ability and the potential to be exceptional. Like you say, he's only 21. Why not take him for some experience? Because he's going to be the ones in the future that you're going to pick.
Yeah, definitely. I'm totally with what you said. I think this next international squad that's announced would do him no harm to get him in, have a look at him, and get him in around the players and see what he's like in the camp and, you know, the training group, and give him some minutes on the pitch to see what he can do, you know. Because when we're talking about confidence earlier with Sunderland, his confidence should be sky high, because he's playing really well. He's on top of his game, so give him a chance. That's when the chances have to be. But we're back to what we always have to touch on when Newcastle is injuries. We've losing our skipper Kieran Trippier for at least 2 games, and he's probably going to miss the international break. He had to come off with a calf injury last week against Wolves. I mean, we've got young Tino Livramento, who's going to be an outstanding young player. He came on, scored the third goal. He's got, he's so fit. He's up and down that right side, you know, like you wouldn't believe. So we've got a good replacement, but you know, I think I heard Eddie saying that they're still trying to chase down the teams above to try and get these European places. We could do without any more injuries and just try and get the squad settled as much as possible. I think the good thing last weekend, I think everyone I spoke to, obviously the result really important, but I think the fact that the team got a clean sheet, which has, you know, been difficult for them to achieve over the last few weeks, especially in comparison to last season. I think that was starting to play on a few players' minds and stuff like that. So they got that clean sheet. So hopefully the defensive side of the game is going to come back into the focus, and we can be as solid as we were last year, which was a huge part of the success that we had, you know.
Well, you've got a bit of a break now, haven't you, till Monday night? But it's a
Monday,
tough one.
yeah.
You know, away at Chelsea.
It just depends who Chelsea turn up. Exactly. We've just said exactly the same thing.
It could be an easy game for Newcastle, and it could be a difficult one. You just don't know with Chelsea.
Well, Newcastle in the reverse fixture at St James's, Newcastle made it an easy game. They just totally dominated Chelsea in every department. They overran them, they overpowered them. Chelsea couldn't handle the press. They couldn't handle Newcastle's pace at the top of the pitch, and you know, it was just the gap between the two teams was huge on the day. And like you say, Higgy, I'd actually, when I'm watching the game on Monday night, it's a difficult one to call because, like you say, you look at some of the individuals that Chelsea have got and you think, outstanding player. But then they put them together and they look like they've never ever been together. They've never trained a day together. They kind of, you know, it just looks like what's going on. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that they've spent nearly £1 billion on that squad, and they still haven't really got a top class striker. £1 billion, and you kind of get a striker. I mean, crazy, absolute crazy. It's when you see it like that, it just shocks you, to be honest.
Well, when you're talking about your club and you're thinking how well run it is or how well run it isn't, and then you look at that's a different level to everything else, isn't it?
Yeah.
£1 billion and you're no further forward.
But the other thing is,
it just proves that money doesn't buy it.
Go the other way.
Just proves money doesn't buy the success, does it? Do you know what I mean? Unless you spend it in the right way.
That's what I was saying. It's the old adage. It's all right having money, but I tell you what, it's easy to waste it.
Aye.
I mean, there's been lots of examples of clubs.
Everton have wasted a load of money. Absolutely.
Fortune. Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is,
on the scale of Chelsea.
That's what No. And I don't understand the Chelsea project in terms of, is Pochettino having a lot of say in the signings that are being brought in? Because, you know, they seem to sign a lot of players in the same position, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, for example, I think they announced about 4 signings in the summer, and they were all wingers, and you're thinking, well, hold on a minute, they've already got some wingers there. Where are these all going to go, like? And they were out-and-out wingers, all the players that they were bringing in or whatever. And it seemed a strange one, really.
Well, they put themselves in a mess, haven't they? Because they handed out all these 7-year contracts to try and offset the profit and sustainability stuff. And now they're going to get in a mess when they're trying to get rid of these players who aren't good enough and don't want to. They're not going to go where Chelsea want them to go. So how are they then going to get rid of them? If you're a player and you're sitting there and you've got 6 years left of a 7-year, 8-year deal, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, they're going to have to pay that full contract up, which is going to cost them fortunes.
Aye.
Yeah.
Because the players aren't going to
send them over the profit and sustainability rules, or does it
probably not? So the players and their agent have got them by the short and curlies, haven't they?
Yeah. So at the time they're thinking they're clever because they're offsetting it and they can bring all these players in now. But that only works if the players you're bringing in now are players who are going to stay with you for the next 5 or 6 years and be good enough. So you have to make sure that these players are the real deal. You can't just buy players on these 7 or 8 year deals who you think might be brilliant. You need players who are brilliant, and they haven't got enough of them.
But if they click, if they click, which I have seen them do it this season, a couple of occasions, not very often, but like you say, if they click, they could give Newcastle a very, very tough game, and that's the issue with Chelsea at the moment. You don't know which one's going to turn up.
No. Well, we may as well get on to the Saturday games, Daz. A tough one for Sunderland.
Yeah, I've got to go, mate.
Southampton. Yeah, I mean it's one of them. You're hoping, but you're looking at it with your hands over your eyes a little bit, aren't you?
I'm going to do what you did the other week, mate, and it turned out all right, didn't it?
Reverse psychology.
I'm going to be watching this game.
What's that? Answer the door.
No, mate.
Listen, I can't. If I'm being honest, I can't see you scoring down there.
No, to be honest, mate, it's going to be a tough ask. It's going to be a tough game. Obviously, I've got to stick by the lads. I've got to, believe that they're going to turn it around.
You don't have to,
No, I really do, mate.
Go on,
no,
I
think it's going to be I think it's going to be a tough game, mate. In all honesty, but I'm gonna go with a very tight game, and I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Sunderland.
Who's going to score?
I don't know anything. Big Dan Ballard's going to play up top, mate. No, again, mate. You're looking around at who's going to score. I mean, Hume's. In all honesty, Hume's been unlucky with a couple of strikes he's had in the game the other night. Dan Ballard's obviously got. He obviously ended up as a centre forward at the point of the game, and obviously probably should have got a penalty. But yeah,
what was going on with that pen, Daz? We've got to talk about that because we haven't really spoke about it, have we? And it looked to me as though he would have got a penalty if he didn't go down like he'd been shot in platoon.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly, Higgy.
Because it was so false the way he went down that it probably made the referee's mind up for him. If he'd have just went down,
definitely, mate, 100%.
It's a pen. I think because he has been clipped.
I think if he'd just gone down off the initial clip rather than flinging the top half of his body forward, I think then obviously it's a blatant penalty. But I think the ref thought, well, you've made a meal out of it, really, in all honesty. And I think that's why he's just ignored it, mate. But so I think it's his own doing in a sense, pal. But obviously initially I thought, he's clipped him. You just go down from the clip, don't you? But you can see it's like a swan dive, innit?
Oh, it's horrendous the way it goes
Greg
down.
Louganis.
Flung the top off his body.
But it was the way the arms come up and everything, wasn't it? It was like William Defoe
exactly,
into
mate,
the way he's gone down.
It was a bit theatrical, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But but I'm gonna go with a 2-1 win in Sunderland, mate. To be honest, I'm just going to debate on who's going to get the goals, mate, because it's going to be, I'm hoping we get 2 goals from set pieces, because if we don't look in the final third that we're going to actually score a goal from kind of normal play.
Well, I'd love to say you're going to break your duck, but I can't, because I think Southampton didn't play, did they? Their game got called off midweek because of a fight down there. So they've had a full week off. I think they'll be raring to go. They've got a little bit of ground to catch up as well. Obviously, Leeds play tonight, isn't it? Leeds play tonight.
Yes.
And Chef Wed,
so they need the result, Southampton, and they've been all right at home. They've been really good at home, actually. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a tough one. I can't see Sunderland scoring. I'm going to be. This is me being kind and saying 2-0 to Southampton.
Thanks, mate.
It's okay, Daz.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, sorry, Daz. I think it could be even heavier than that, but I don't want to upset you, so I'll just say Southampton will win 1-0. But I think really deep down it could be like huge.
Never had any mates, have you, Daz?
No, I've just poured me a cup of tea out and filled it with vodka.
That was being a mate. Those 2 predictions were being mates. Well, listen, the tricky one for me is the Boro one, because it is tricky. QPR is not a great ground for us. Haven't won there in the last 5. Haven't beaten them in the last 5 games in all. So it's obviously going to be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. There might be a bit of reverse psychology in there.
Yeah, I think the inconsistencies are going to come back. I don't think you'll lose, though. I think it'll be a score draw as well.
I'll take that. Come on, Daz, give it me.
Do you know what, mate? No, I'm not. I'm gonna think the win, mate, has given him a bit of a lift and a bit of a boost, and I'm gonna go 2-0 Middlesbrough.
Oh. And then Chelsea, Newcastle, I'm going to go again. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go 1-1 for this one, Clarky.
Toon's going to win, mate. Chelsea, they're going to turn up as most of the season, not playing too well, and will win 1-0.
Daz?
I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle, mate. I feel a 2-1.
Love that, Daz.
He's always positive,
Newcastle.
isn't he, Daz?
No worries, mate.
Always positive.
Yeah, the vodka's kicked in now, mate.
And that's it for another week, fellas. Sunderland's obviously going to get hammered, according to Clarky and Higgy. And we'll just keep we'll keep our fingers crossed. I am not making predictions.
Well, listen, good luck to all the teams, Dave. Good luck. But on Sunday, I am off to Liverpool to watch City against Liverpool.
I'll be there as well, Higgy.
Enjoy it, fellas. We're
Enjoy,
done.
lads.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Right across the northeast, the tune